very warm welcome to all of you to the information webinar on the various grants that are outgoing right now that we have announced, and we will be talking more to that. It's really nice to see several of you join this call and to be part of this webinar, where we will clarify some of your doubts and questions and broadly the scope of the grants that we are looking forward to disburse through these different calls that we have put out as part of the SUMERNET project initiative. So before we start off, I'd like to thank you all for coming on board. And I'm Sushmita, a Senior Research Fellow at SEI Asia Center. I'm also the Research Coordinator for the SUMERNET initiative. And before we start off, I'd like to invite Dr. Chinese, the Program Director of SUMERNET, to provide her opening remarks. Over to you, Dr. Chinese.
Thank you very much, Sushmita. Can you hear me, everyone? Okay, that's great. Very good afternoon, everyone, colleagues, and all network members. It is my great pleasure on behalf of the Secretariat of Sustainable Mekong Research Network, or SUMERNET, to welcome you to this today important sessions. We have these sessions organized to clarify any questions and any things that you would like to ask regarding the upcoming grants opportunity that SUMERNET has been providing. And I just want to emphasize again who we are with the SUMERNET here, because it seems like we also have new members to the network. SUMERNET is a long-term research network. We focus on how we could really use the research to strengthen knowledge-based policy processes. So at the moment, we have more than 400 network members. Our focus as a whole network is how to use the evidence base to support decision-making process for sustainable development in the Mekong region. And because the sustainable development is very broad, during these 5 years, until end of 2023 or 2024, here we will focus on how to reduce water insecurity for all, men and women and all vulnerable group of people, considering our gender social equalities, human rights-based approach, conflict sensitivity, and environmental integrity and poverty reductions. And this sounds like, wow, that's a lot of things we have to do within short time. No, we will not be able to do this without really good, effort and also passions for many friends and members in the network and also outside the network to join hands doing this together. How SUMERNET as a network and small program here offer in terms of opportunity for us to cooperate. In current phase of SUMERNET, we are offering 6 types of grants, and we will more or less, I think, offer in total more than 60 individual grants. I mean, the grants about total numbers about 60. And so far, we already provided about 30 grants and more than almost 200 network members actually engaged and work together with us through different projects, through different granted opportunities to work on this together. And we feel this is great, but not enough. So we still have some kind of tasks and pending tasks for us to seek more, people and more friends to work on this together. And this round of the calls, we are now offering 3 types of the grants. The first one is Rapid Response Fund, and this is really a bit bigger and encourage more cooperation, at least from 2 countries or others. So we will hear more about these grants later stage. And then we have small grants, and I would like to say that I'm so pleased this time. We really emphasize a lot on how we engage with young professionals into the activities. They can not only engaging as a member, but some opportunity, for example, small grant also offer for young professionals to lead or co-lead the activities. So, so please listen to our colleagues really to talk more about this. And Tashmika will talk more about rapid response. And the other is about the fellowship grants. So these fellowship grants offer to individual member and young professionals and the citizen of the Mekong to be able to engage closely with the SUMERNET. And many of network members sometimes talk with me and others on how themselves as individuals could work closely with us. And one opportunity is really to work with the secretariat, be physically host in Bangkok, and also engaging in activity and be able to travel also visiting different countries that we have the research or other policy engagement activity on. So these are all opportunity open, and I would say we will not be able to really achieve our main goal and objective without the effort, the connections, the passions, and really insights that all of you here have from different countries. So I'm so happy with this opportunity to meet and really like to open these sessions now and looking forward to a discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinese. Thank you for those opening remarks. So before we move on to the sessions itself, I'd just like to highlight that all the participants who are attending this webinar, you could introduce yourself in the chat box by mentioning your name and the country and possibly your institutional affiliation if you would like to. So the chat box function should be now enabled and you should be able to type in where are you from, what is your name, and that should be good for us to know who all are participants here. The second thing that I wanted to also highlight is that, as we said, that this is a question answer session where we will be providing you information on the different grant opportunities. But as part of that, as we are making those presentations, you might have clarificatory questions that you might want to ask, and you can use the question and answer function which is there at the bottom of the screen if you look at it, and you can post your questions there. We will take those questions one-on-one and try and answer them. But please do bear with us that given the time that we have limited time with us, we may not be able to answer all questions, but we'll try our best to answer as many of those questions. Also, I'd like to let you know that this session is being recorded, so you can go back and listen into the session, or you people who have not been able to join this session for whatever reasons can still access this session online through our YouTube channel as well as on the SUMERNET website. So please do pass on for people who could not join for whatever reasons to listen into the session later on as well. So before any further discussions, I'd like to invite Agus. Agus is our program manager for the Sustainable Mekong Research Network, and he will give you a quick overview of what SUMERNET is for, because I guess several of you are also new to SUMERNET and are listening in for the first time. So over to you, Agus.
Thank you, Susmita. So I hope you can hear me well. So I would like to also welcome our audience for this webinar. And I would like to also welcome you for those of you who are new to SUMERNET to your first SUMERNET event. So I hope my task is today is to explain about SUMERNET and also some opportunities that we are having in SUMERNET. So let me please share my presentation now. Okay, so I hope you can see the screen. Yeah. Okay, so today I'm just going to go over quickly about 6 items, including Q&A. One is about SUMERNET, second is about our governance, the third is about our current program, which is called SUMERNET for All, and then we will also cover the opportunities within SUMERNET, and then the last item that we have is on the fellowship, one opportunity that is currently open also within SUMERNET. So as also mentioned by Dr. Chinese earlier, that our SUMERNET Sustainable Mekong Research Network is a regional research network for sustainable development in the Mekong, and that our approach is we would like to influence policy processes through knowledge-based approach. So we support policy-relevant research, we support policy engagement with the policymakers, with the policy stakeholder, and we also develop the capacity of the researcher in the Mekong region itself. We've been supported generously by Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA, and Stockholm Environment Institute has been the host of our secretariat for the last 17 years of our existence. And in terms of governance, our SUMERNET is guided by our network members. So you see here in the diagram that there are 3 bodies within SUMERNET which has a key role in our network. First is the SUMERNET network members. And then the SUMERNET network members is represented by SUMERNET steering committee. And then the SUMERNET steering committee assigned SUMERNET secretariat to implement activities, to implement network development and engagement, and also to implement programs within SUMERNET network. So first, I would like to introduce to you our steering committee. So basically, we have representatives from all the countries in the Mekong: Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, and China. So all these SUMERNET steering committee, our distinguished member of the steering committee, are usually senior researcher or policy practitioner in the Mekong region that has a passion and concern about sustainable development in the Mekong region. We have currently launched recruitment for the SSC. So there will be 5 replacement for the current SSC members. The SSC member has 3-year tenure. So by the end of the tenure or term, they will be replaced by, or there will be new election of the steering committee. And then additionally, we will have also 2 young professional representatives, 1 female and 1 male. Young professional will represent the network members who are younger than 35 or not older than 35 years old. And hopefully with this SSC, the new additional SSC seat, we will have more engagement with the young professional in the Mekong region. In our work in the secretariat, we have 4 components. Component 1 is multi-stakeholder engagement. Often we call that also policy engagement. Component 2, concern about research for policy and practice. Component 3 is on communication. So how we communicate our research to the policy process or policy stakeholders. And component 4 is more on the program management and coordination of the overall SUMERNET network and programs. So I would like just to go over our secretariat. So we have a list of names here, our colleagues who work in the secretariat, dedicating their time to manage the program, to implement activities, to do capacity building events, as well as developing the network. So you met with some of them today here. You see program director already, Dr. Chinese, myself, program manager, and Ridi, component 1 coordinator, Susmita, research coordinator, Rajesh, who's I think not present here, but he is kind of responsible for the communications. And we have other colleagues as well who are supporting the secretariat. We have also 1 fellow, Ongkam, from currently, well, actually, he's already finished his term, but just recently, last month, he was our fellow, and still now he is supporting the secretariat. In terms of network members, we have been growing quite continuously. So you see the growth of the member here in the graph. Now we have about 476. This morning I checked, it's even 482 network members that is registered under our network. So it means that our network is very active, alive, and yeah, if you haven't become our member, please join us so we can work together to achieve the sustainable development in the Mekong. And also we are very diverse, as you see here in terms of country. There is a domination from Vietnam. So if you are from Laos, Cambodia, please join us so you have more presence in our network. So if you would like to be a member, just scan this QR code and fill out the very simple form, and you can be listed as our SUMERNET member. And also you will receive updates from us regularly, including the opportunities within our network and also outside of our network. So in terms of program, our main program now is SUMERNET for all, which is focusing on the water insecurity. So our aim is to improve policies and practice in reducing water insecurity in the Mekong, especially concerning the vulnerable men and women in the Mekong region. So this is our main program in SUMERNET now. We have 3 research teams: water access and rights and allocation in the times of scarcity. We call this sometime with the drought research team. Governance and management of flood in the disaster risk. We also call this sometimes flood research team, and transboundary interaction of the water system. So this is more like a governance, transboundary governance of the water in the Mekong. As also I mentioned earlier, that we work through supporting research projects, policy relevant research project in the Mekong. So I would like to just flash you this map of the Mekong with our project sites. So these are some of our project sites. This is not all our grants. This is from the collaborative rapid response, emerging research and joint action projects. So as also Dr. Chinese mentioned earlier, that we are engaging with around 192 researchers in the region from 5 countries. You can see the composition here. But additional to that, we also engage with the media and research media partner, especially who are journalists, young journalists in the region. They would like to learn more about how to communicate research to public audience. So we kind of support 8 grants from this media research partnership. So as you see that all these opportunities are coming from SUMERNET for all. So the focus is more on the water insecurity in the context of water insecurity. And within SUMERNET for all, we also arrange in, as also our secretariat way of working, in 4 components as well. And if you see the circle there with the greenish color, it's the grant opportunity that we have. So Dr. Chinese also mentioned there are 6 types of grant. So these are those grants that were mentioned. Aside from the grants, we also have capacity building and support. Sometimes we organize events, capacity building events such as workshop or trainings, not only for our grantees, but also sometimes open for the network member. So this is one of the benefit, I guess, when you become the member of SUMERNET. We also have publications from our network as well as the media research partnership, the one that I just mentioned. So the current opportunities that is open, I will mention one by one shortly. So first is a small grant. Ridi will cover this in the next session, I think. 10 grants of around 30,000 to 50,000 Swedish kroner, or in dollars is about 3,000 to 5,000. And then 2 grants of rapid response of around 400 K Swedish kroner, or in dollars is around 45,000. And also lastly, 2 fellowships, which is currently open. About allowance is about 7,500 per month for 12 months of stay for the young professional in our secretariat. So on the SUMERNET fellowship, our target applicants, so I will just mention here shortly, but if you'd like to know more, I hope someone can paste a link in our chat box for the more detailed call. So everyone here can refer to that. But our target applicants here are young and early career, not older than 35 years old, Mekong citizen with a research or practitioner background from the countries of Cambodia, Laos, PDR, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. The period of fellowship is 12 months, and we hope that the fellow can stay in our SUMERNET Secretariat in Bangkok, Thailand. The skill of or expertise of focus this time is on multi-stakeholder engagement or policy engagement, and research for policy and practice. So basically component 1 and component 2 of our secretariat. The context is SUMERNET for all, so water insecurity in the Mekong region. So I think there is next one. Okay, the value of this fellowship is a monthly allowance, the one that I just mentioned, around 750 USD. To cover basic living costs and accommodation, but also other benefits as well, such as a return flight or transport, medical insurance, internet communication costs. Basic requirement, you can see here, the citizen not older than of the Mekong, not older than 35 years old, master's degree in relevant subjects, 2 years of professional experience, proficiency in English, and native language of the Mekong. Since this call already open for quite some time, so the deadline is soon, is approaching 6th of August 2022. So if you know anyone who fits with this requirement or qualification, please forward to those person who has met this qualification, basically. So I think that's the last slide for me. Thank you very much. So if there is any question, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Agus. Are there any questions for Agus? You can post your questions on the Q&A box and he can look them up, and I'll also try to moderate once I see the questions out there. So, and apologies to everyone. I think there's been a slight technical glitch and the chat function is not working. So none of you are able to type in your introductions on the chat. So please use the Q&A box itself to introduce yourself. Our apologies that this happened, but there are certain technical aspects that I think we're still trying to figure out. So apologies for that. And if any one of you have any questions, please do post it on the Q&A box. So I think Agus was very clear in how he shared information about the fellowship call. And I think we will have a lot of responses from several of you submitting applications for the SUMERNET Research Fellow positions. So if there are, okay, so there is a question for SUMERNET. This is an overall question from Apichai Suchinda, who says, one concerning the SUMERNET call for proposals is the interpretation of the Mekong region for the purpose of eligibility considerations. Looking at some of the current and past projects and have received funding support from SUMERNET, although quite a number of them deals or covers several countries within the Mekong area, but it seems not necessarily so, as some are very site-specific localities just within one particular country in the Mekong region, or not even within the Mekong basin itself. Kindly confirm if this is a correct interpretation on the matter. Dr. Chinese, would you like to take this question?
That's great. Yeah, I can answer this question, and maybe other members could add. And thank you very much, Ajahn Pichai, for joining sessions and your insights looking at reviewing the projects that we have been supporting recently. So in terms of interpretations for the Mekong region, we really take into account not the river basins. The countries that are within the Mekong region are considered as our focus. However, we actually, the way we support the research and the policy engagement project is really largely designed to bottom-up approach. So SCI or even steering committee of the SUMERNET did not, for example, say exactly what are specific area or specific locations we want to pursue the research or policy engagement activity. We really rely on the bottom-up approach and insights from the network members and other partners to say what type of research or joint actions or activity linking with the grants that they would like to propose for SUMERNET to consider funding, because only by this way we will ensure that the research or any studies that will be undertaken, which take time, will have some audience and the target users. So if you say that, oh, okay, some project have only one country, because the nature of SUMERNET network is that we understand the wide range of the interest and the capacity of network members. So some network members share with us that they are very much interested in doing research to engage with the policy maker or they consider as their boundary partner, but they don't have much connection to other countries yet, but they want to start doing this and engaging with a governmental officer or civil society, which not normally done in the past. So that's why we offer, like, for example, joint actions type of project where it will deepen the relationship between researcher and interaction with the policy maker or policy actors. Then it becomes the project that have only one country focus. When it comes to multi-country projects, we actually encourage to have wide range of coverage and many countries in one project. But we do not feel like to really force that all projects have to have 5 countries or which organization they should engage or cooperate, because we feel that only through the partnership, they work together, they know how to kind of join hands in implementing the research and policy engagement activity. They know the connection policy process. Only by this way, it will be really more organically induce the change. So that's why some projects have probably cover only some part of the Mekong, even beyond one country. But we're very much looking forward to more cooperations and applications that have like more inclusive and others country in one project. That's type of project or application we really feel like to have. But we're not really forcing that all projects have to have such characters. So what we could do by how to say, not only supporting individual projects, but what type of insights or knowledge or change the individual research or activity that we are supporting could really be leveraged in a way that at regional level we could learn from, and within the network and also outside the network. That's why we also have some cooperation beyond SUMERNET network only. We have cooperation with other regional research network and also other regional governmental process in addressing the issues on this. And we are still welcome and very much welcome more support and cooperation from all network members and also other experts. Yeah. Let's continue talking about this at time.
Thank you, Dr. Chinese, for that detailed response to the question. So moving on, we shall now, I think I'll invite Riddhi to speak to the SUMERNET Small Grants program, which also has a call for, there's a grant opportunity right now. So over to you, Riddhi, to talk about the Small Grants program.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sushmita. Just give me a minute to share my screen and then we can begin the discussions. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right, so thank you so much. As Sushmita just introduced that this short presentation is going to be about the small grants, which is one of the different types of grants that SUMERNET for All is, supporting this year. And we are offering support through this grant to SUMERNET members and other new partners who are joining the SUMERNET network. As some of you are a new, the new members of the SUMERNET network. So we, invite all of you to apply for a small grant. And through this grant, we are trying to support activities that would further improve the influence of SUMERNET research. And the budget for each of these grants for this call would be around 30,000 to 50,000 SEK. And the duration of this grant will be around 6 months. So this year we are looking to, accept or grant a total of 10 applications. The more applications we get, the better it would be for us to, identify good and unique ideas and propositions or proposals from different applicants. So who is that can apply for this grant? Who are we looking for to apply for this grant? It could be individuals, it could be organizations who can apply for this grant. If you have previously received any grant from SUMERNET, you can still apply, but you have to ensure that you have not received grants for similar activities before. So you can apply for new activities which were not covered before. The institution or the individual has to ensure or has to reveal the capacity to conduct these additional activities which have been committed in the call. And also, as Agus mentioned, that SUMERNET for All this year has 3 different research teams. So in line with that, the small grant also should cover or resonate with one of these research teams, which includes water access rights and allocation in times of water security, governance and management of water-related disaster risk, and transboundary interactions with water systems. So what all activities can small grants, support during the period of 6 months? What is that the proposal can be about? So it can be about hosting events for policy engagement and development, transdisciplinary dialogues. It can be used to support your participation in relevant events where you can communicate research results. You can engage through this grant in various events. You can hold consultations. You can also design activities with key stakeholders. But this should all be around water security within the Mekong region. We can also support exchange visits to other projects for enhanced collaboration within the Mekong region. We can support development of larger proposals with participation from multiple institutes. Also, we can support the proposals which aim at enhancing the participation, capacity, and networking of young professionals, as Dr. Chinese has mentioned initially, that this time we are trying to focus more on the young professionals, and they would be also supported through small grants, and they can also apply for joint activities as well. In addition to all of this, we can also support through this grant production of certain academic and non-academic communication materials, monitoring and evaluation of the outcomes of the previous projects of SUMERNET, and also you can map the impacts of these projects, where they have been able to bring a change and how. Also, we are this time looking for certain, innovative communication tools that can be developed using these grants, where you can develop some web-based applications, mobile applications, and/or games, which can then be, used to inform water security related issues in Mekong. Also, can be used for raising awareness, can also be used for interaction with the communities, and also for stakeholder awareness to reduce water insecurity related issues within the region. So what are we looking for in the proposal? What is the Secretariat going to look for in the proposal when we are going through your applications? So we need you to focus on reducing water security for all, especially in Mekong region. There should be consideration of gender and social equality, conflict sensitivity. The ideas should be pro-poor and should have right-based approaches at forming the basis of the proposal. We should have significant potential to lead to bigger impact in the future, be it in terms of policy, practice, public awareness, expanded partnership, and cooperation. Also, the activities, the grantees or the applicants have to ensure that the activities can be implemented even if the pandemic continues in certain regions or areas. Also, the grantees should be able to manage and complete the activities within the 6 months time frame. It is pertinent that the lead applicant must be a SUMERNET member and should be residing in one of the Mekong countries. We totally support and also promote young professionals to apply as lead or co-lead applicants for these small grants. What do we further promote and encourage? We want, applications to be led and co-led by women, involving female team members, also young professionals and other boundary partners. We are looking for applications from Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Thailand. For Myanmar, only representatives, which are from CSOs and NGOs, can be supported due to some financial issues. And also through this grant, we also encourage engagement with Chinese researchers and organizations, but this engagement needs to be covered by co-funding opportunities, and these will not be directly supported by the small grants. So at the end of the project, once you are awarded the grant, what does the Secretariat expect you to submit? So you will be required to submit a grant utilization report of a template for which would be provided by the Secretariat. Also, we would need documentation of evidence that you have implemented certain activities. These could be reports, these could be your meeting notes, these could be your videos from the ground, these could be photographs or certain similar documentation of the activities that were implemented. We would also need a financial report where we expect the grantees to list out expenditure items, personal fees, direct costs, etc. If the application is from certain organization, we can support only 15% overhead rate through these applications. And for individual grants, we won't support any overheads. So what are the important dates for the applicants to keep in mind? So the call is open till August 15, 2022. The Secretariat is going to review the applications from August 16 to 26. And we'll then ask the steering committee to endorse our selection from 12th to 14th of September. The contracting and onboarding will take place from mid-September to mid of October, and the grantees will have to, the project inception will start around October 15, 2022. So these are the key dates that the applicants have to keep in mind. So, and that was a short presentation from my end, and now I open the floor for any questions that our prospective applicants have for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Riddhi. Thanks for those quick inputs into how the small grants are going to function. There's one question for you from Hung Khan Gwen, who's asking, I want to ask about raising public awareness. Is this targeted mainly at young professionals, or can it be school-age children as well?
I think it's totally open, and it's the way the applicants design their application. So we are trying to, as Dr. Chinese also mentioned, that we are trying a bottom-up approach. So if we are sensitizing, the young, the school children, so I think we can have a bigger impact. It's the way you design the proposal, and what sort of activities do you want these children to engage in. So I think the bigger the impact that you plan, the better it is. So you are free to choose the focus group for your proposal. totally it's dependent upon the applicants.
Thanks, Riddhi. There's a question which I think I'll target to Agus to answer. Min U is asking, do the grants have some specific limitations for Myanmar due to its current situation?
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to also answer that through written. So, but it's good, Susmita. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer that one live. Basically, due to the current political situation in Myanmar, which currently it seems that the current government, which is not was not democratically elected, and a lot of let's say resentment from the population or the public for that government. So we encourage the grantee to work more with the civil society organization, basically as boundary partner or NGOs, local NGOs, basically, and kind of a refrain from identifying current government as boundary partners, something like that. Secondly, we are concerned about the transfer of fund, basically forwarding of fund to the grantee in Myanmar. We had some problem with transferring to the bank account in Myanmar and how the grantee will withdraw the money from the account. And so many of them are kind of proposing us to have a personal bank account, which is not really encouraged in our financial management system, basically. So we are still kind of solving this issue, but I mean, we want to support researchers and NGOs in Myanmar. That is no question about that. But we need to also comply with our financial management system, and we are continuously still finding out ways to kind of work around this issue currently. But surely we'll find a way to solve this administrative problem.
Thank you, Agus, for that answer. Dr. Chinese, I'll direct this question to you. Somebody's asked, can people outside the Mekong region currently doing research in the Mekong region apply for the grant?
It's possible, but we would encourage those who will be lead applicant, be those who residing in the region. So friends and colleagues working on a Mekong but residing outside, you are very much welcome to join as a team members. So that's the conditions we put in the proposal. I mean, in the call document. So the idea is that especially during the COVID, I mean the problem. So it's very difficult to have some friends and colleagues, and even more maybe costly to travel like outside and to the region. That's why we think that it's probably better to have the lead of any projects that we support to be those who are already residing in the country and in the region. So, but we are very much welcome other members to join hands and work together. Yeah. And even now, I really see great opportunities that many friends, members, even secretary could travel across the country. But we are not sure about the situation. So, and we already see that some countries already now have a more kind of spread. I don't know how many rounds or waves now we have, but we just need to work around and we try to, even from ourselves, whenever we want to kind of support the team and the partners in the country, we also ask for support from our steering committees that residing in different countries to really go to the site within the country, and also other advisor and supporters. So that's why we feel that having the lead of the project from that really work and live in the region probably would be most effective for the project implementation. But yeah, everyone is welcome to join the project as a members. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinese. And please do keep the questions coming in. I did see there's a question and there was another question, and we will take them up after we finish talking about the Rapid Response Grant, which is another grant opportunity that we have currently open. And I'll just quickly go through some of the key features of the Rapid Response Grant and how or who can apply for these grants. So the grant size, this was a grant that we launched during COVID, when we realized that there are a lot of emerging research areas that are coming up and which need quick solutions or quick responses to be created. And that's how this grant was. This was like a flexible grant that was launched. And the grant amount is about 43,000 USD, which is about 400,000 Swedish krona. The grant is given for a period of anything between 6 to 12 months. As per the new current call that is out there on that for which we are talking about, we will be awarding about 2 grants under this. So we look forward to applications for this grant. What will it support? It's going to support proposals that are geared towards solutions. So there are research projects that might very clearly address issues that are currently being faced in terms of disruptions in water supply, in terms of water availability and accessibility, especially in the context of a very uncertain climate future that we are living in. It's these kind of proposals that we will focus on. It will still be within those 3 research themes that we all have been talking about, which is around water access, rights and allocation, around governance and management of flood and other disasters related to water, and transboundary interactions with water systems. Some of the key features of a successful proposal under this grant would be that it is addressing water insecurity, especially in the context of COVID-19. What has happened in COVID? There might be new things that you've learned that COVID-19 has helped understand or unpack in terms of dealing with our water insecurity challenges. So proposals that focus on that. Proposals that focus on addressing the impacts being faced by vulnerable and marginalized communities. Proposals that focus on how can we improve or change water policies and budgetary priorities given the context of diseases or sudden outbreaks that happen. Proposals that are focusing on how current systems of governance can be addressed to seek solutions for the water insecurity challenge, and also proposals that may look at best practices that would inform better preparedness for dealing with the water insecurity in context of things like the pandemic that recently happened, and what lessons do we have from that. There can be also proposals that will contribute to ongoing planning or decision-making processes at various levels. So it can be subnational as well as regional levels. We are looking at multidisciplinary research approaches, which is sensitive and which takes into account aspects like gender equity, social equality, conflict sensitivity, and address targets of governance and poverty reduction. We are also encouraging teams that are very diverse and teams that show extensive work experience and proven capacity to manage a grant such as this. It would be very good if you could also include along with your proposal a letter of support or request from a target user of the future research findings that shows a real need for that kind of a research to be supported. So that will always add value when you are putting in a proposal of that kind. What are the expected outputs that one is looking at from this kind of a research proposal? What we are saying, as I mentioned previously, that all the outputs have to be completed within a period of 6 to 12 months. There should be at least one dissemination product that you would plan or have in the process, which will be targeted to reach out to the marginalized or vulnerable communities that you've identified and that you want to influence as well. The project report must include methodology, research findings, and key recommendations. There would also be a requirement of developing a policy brief that would emanate out of the research findings. One policy engagement event where you bring in all your policy partners or your boundary partners to inform about how that is changing policies. And the last but not least important in our context is also that we are building research capacities in the region. So we are expecting that you would also submit a manuscript for an international journal which has been listed in the Scopus or Web of Science group of journals and has an impact factor. So these are some of the key things that you have to deliver as part of it. Who can apply for these grants? So the lead applicant, and this has been coming up again and again, I have to mention that has to be located in any one of the 5 Mekong countries. The applicant must also be a SUMERNET network member. Of course, you can apply for membership and then apply for this grant. And we have shared all the links for the various things on the chat box. So please do look at that. We encourage multi-country consortiums that provide really a platform for knowledge exchange, and in the process build capacities across different countries and with very concrete learning outcomes that you will gain out of this process. And the entire submission process is online, which is on the on this particular link, and we have shared this link even on the chat box. So please do look at the link through the chat box, because no applications will be entertained which are sent to us on email. It has to be submitted on this online platform, which is managed at SUMERNET Secretariat. Some of the key dates that you might have to remember: this is currently open and the submission deadline is the 28th of August 2022, after which we will undergo a review process at our secretariat. And then after that, around between the 16th and the 19th of September, we should be announcing the results of who has got these grants, and then the entire process of contracting and onboarding happens. And we are hoping that the projects will start at the earliest by 18th of October 2022. So with that, I would now open this up for further questions from others who are listening into this call. And as you frame your questions or think about the questions that you want to ask, there is one question from Savala Kitiprapas, who's asking, I hope to see some guidelines for each grant, such as a rapid response grant. I like to continue question and answer with Kun Apichai and Kun Chinese that we may like to include another case of Myanmar to share experience with Bangkajau in Thailand. So basically, Dr. Chinese, if you could respond, they want to know what are the specific guidelines they need to keep in mind, because they would like to involve a Myanmar partner in the proposal.
Okay, so thank you very much for the questions. Let's see, Kun Sawalak, right? Kun Sawalak asked about the guideline for rapid response grant. So I think if you have a chance, in the core document provided some information about the requirement and selection criteria. However, you would see more what are really the things the applicants need to fill in from the online form. If you say exactly what we need, especially what I think is the highlight for rapid response, you could see rapid response can have a bit higher budget and also more requirements in terms of what deliverables and also expectation in terms of the influence for the research and engagement activity to be supported under these 2 grants that we will provide. So the idea is we would like to support the case study or the projects that have already some existing relationship with the boundary partner, policy actor, and you know what kind of needs in terms of policy or action or planning support they need for the evidence, to have the more evidence to support their decision making. So that's why we really emphasize on, we call it as rapid response. Rapid response to whom? Rapid response to the need of for planners or decision maker or some actions that want to have some quick inputs to their decision making. So the idea that Ajahn Apishai mentioned earlier about Bang Kachao, I see that the topic itself, linking with the water insecurity and others, it's of course relevant to the SUMERNET because we try to reduce water insecurities. However, we need to emphasize that whether the proposed application would highlight or can demonstrate that there is really urgent need on decisions for policy planning or actions in that particular location, or whether are you involving with the local government in the area or others, who are the key actors that would like to have that kind of evidence to support them. So maybe like a quick question you can ask yourself whether the proposed project can actually address this issue. And if the project would like to engage another country like Myanmar, it has to have some aspect of the things that relevant for two locations, right? So if Bang Kachao, for example, addressing, I just give example, the issue of water shortage. So Myanmar, the case study should also address some similar issue or other issue that linking to that. So to be really relevant for those, for both case study in one project. However, I saw that Ajahn Apishai also mentioned that maybe another option is to consider for small grants or application. That one we don't need to have more than one country. So each small grant could focus in particular area, or could be 2 areas, or you want to submit 2 grants and we'll cooperate if the both grants are awarded. That's also possible. So maybe that would be some things for those who have interest to consider what type of grant might be relevant, and you already know, you can see the timeline for applications. For some type of the grant we require the letter of support. Like rapid response grant, we would very much encourage to have a letter of support from those target user of the result from the research. On the other hand, so small grants seem to be less requirement in terms of the documents and others in terms for the application. So please have a look to the document, the call document, and if you have any questions, of course, I think so all of us here will be happy to respond, particularly for the coordinator for the different type of grants like rapid response is Rudy Chashmita, and also small grant is really in charge of this, and fellowship is Agus and Anshuli. So and even if you want to talk with me, I'm also open for the discussions. So at the end of the day, we will assess all application according to the selection criteria identified in the call document. But we would very much looking forward to more applications in this time round, and I feel so much excited because COVID situation seems to be lifting in terms of travel and others. So we really eager to go and visit the team to really witness your good work and see how we could really support the team further. So yeah, looking forward to many applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinese. So 2 questions, I think I'll club them together and get Agus to answer them. One is from Narit from Cambodia, who's asking is whether individuals or organizations can apply for a rapid response grant.
Yeah, so thank you, Susmita, for this one. For the rapid response, we only accept application from organization. So basically, only leading organization can submit for the rapid response. Yeah, so because this will be also easier for us later on in terms of contracting and granting, we will grant only the organization, basically, in the rapid response. However,
And
for the small grants, we can consider individual as well, as
Okay.
also presented by Riri.
Yeah. So that was another question by Chan Guen, who mentioned that could independent young researchers apply for small grants? So for small grants, you can. For rapid response, because the sum is large and we are looking at a much larger scale of work, we expect this to be institutional in nature. Then Dr. Chu has said this, that please note in this phase of SUMERNET contracts is by Swedish kroner, and at present the grant value in USD is lower due to the change of currency exchange. Dr. Chinese may explain more on this point.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huan. Dr. Huan is our one of founding member of SUMERNET and also our former chair of SUMERNET steering committee. So he know all of this content and also management wise. So Dr. Huan is very right. Because of our funding support is from Swedish government and we receive the fund in Swedish krona. Our grant agreement that will be offered will be in Swedish kroner, and we actually fix the kroner as a value. So if the fluctuation, for example, US dollar, it sometimes is variable to how to say the exchange rate will sometimes high and sometimes low. So that's why the project teams have to keep this in mind when you propose the activities in accordance to the budget that is allowed. So and for example, rapid response fund, we have 400,000 Swedish kron. In some months we converted, it's like 43,000 US dollar, and now it's actually dropping. I think Dr. Huan is right now 39,000 US dollar. We don't know, maybe who knows, until the contract is signed, maybe it will go up again. But yeah, please keep in mind, we offer the grant in Swedish krona, 400,000 Swedish kron. Yeah.
So the best way is to really put your budget in Swedish krona, and to give you a sense of what it means in dollars is why we put that amount. But when you're submitting your budget, please submit it in Swedish krona. I think that's the best way to go forward. So thanks, Dr. Chinese, for that. There's Vanasin, who's a researcher from Lao PDR and is asking, could I do action research under any of these grants? To which I would directly answer to you that yes, we would like you to do action research, because we want research to result into action and policy influence. So there is no two answers about this, that you can definitely do research projects that have an action component as part of your work. So please go ahead and do that. And Kunapichai, you mentioned that the intention is to use your theme for a small grant application. Yes, you can use the intention that is there as rapid response for a small grant, but if you think that you want to apply for rapid response, please go ahead and apply. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. I hope I've answered that. Any other questions? Earlier on, there was a question around what is the financial planning for the, I mean, how is finances managed? There was one such question very early on in the session, and I'm not sure if Agus could just broadly mention how do we manage our finances, and maybe just talk about when the grants are, when are the monies disbursed, and what is the payment mechanism, and what are the different things that one needs to keep in mind. That might be helpful.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which question is that, but maybe like what you suggest, Susmita, we just cover some basic arrangement, basically on the related to finance. Usually when we contract, especially rapid response and small grants, but by nature, rapid response means that the fund should be ready to use for the activity. So Normally, we have two payment terms in rapid response, 50% and 50%. So 50% in the beginning when we sign the contract, and then 50% when they deliver all the required products or outputs, including reports, financial reports and such a thing. For the small grants, I think we use the same kind of arrangement, but maybe it tilted towards because more small grants are used for, let's say, organizing events or producing communication materials. So we put a bigger chunk in the beginning, usually. So more than 50% usually that we can put in the beginning when the grantee signed the contract. So they can immediately use the fund for implementing activities or organizing events, something like that. What we can cover within those grants, normally each of grant has different types of costs that we can cover, but normally personal costs can be covered. Some overhead for organization can be covered. Of course, direct costs like travel and workshop costs can be covered as well. So I think that's from me. I think Dr. Chinese would like to add more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit. I think this question is very useful. It would be difficult to explain in detail at this stage, Q&A sessions, but maybe I could say broadly in terms of financial kind of, or how to say, arrangement for the grant is that we actually supporting the actual expenditures for the project, the research and engagement activities. So that's why the grant is not actually lump sum. It's there's when it comes to the direct costs and the expenditures that proposed in the proposals, there need to be some receipt to actually demonstrate that there's actual expenditure happen. So that's why it's important for our partners to keep all track of your expenditures. And when it comes to financial reports, linking with the payment, we actually have to check the receipt as well. So yeah, so that kind of things, we could have the sessions to explain in detail when we already have some result for awarding to the grantees. I mean, I think we will have the sessions where we invite all grantees in the same batch or same types of the grants to come and explain about the regulations and also the forms, the ways to use, how to keep the record, and like more detailed information about financial arrangement. But if you have some experience in receiving the fund, the research fund from other sources of fundings, we guess that the standard of this will probably not too much different from others research funding. So we also learning also because our original funding supporters, which is CEDA, also they have recently updated their regulations and also requirements. So, and we are actually recently learned about this process, and so excited to have opportunity to meet with our partner and new rounds of grantees to talk more about this. Yeah, I think that's really important issues. And one thing I think SUMERNET really see important is that we consider not only capacity development support on the research as important priority, but also how to enhance the capacity and ability of our network members and partners who engage with our grants to improve their financial and also project management systems. So at the end of the day, what we really count as a success of the SUMERNET and the program overall is not the number of paper, but it's really what type of the contribution and how much we help the network members be able to really do good research and be able to access or tap into other source of funding, even beyond the SUMERNET. So that's why we normally work quite closely to the grantees once they receive the fund in terms of the financial management and also other sources of work related to project management. Yeah, so maybe that's probably a short response at this stage. And talk more once you receive the awards. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chinese. Any other last minute questions if anybody has, and if you would like to just raise your hand, you can, and we will help unmute and you can ask that questions. Just we can take one or two more questions before we close this session. So I think we have been very clear and concise about what our grant applications look like and what are we expecting from all of you. So looking forward to several applications from several of you, and please pass on the word around among your networks in the Mekong region about these grant opportunities that are there, because we'd really like to have new faces, new groups of institutions coming together to address some of the issues around water resource governance and insecurity that several locations within the basin are facing. And we look forward to your applications. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues who've been behind the scene managing everything. So there's Anchuli, who's our host for this session. And there's Varia, who's been patiently looking at all the Q&A questions and responding to the ones that she can, and immediately letting me know the ones that we need to take up online. So thank you, Varia and Anchuli, for managing the session at the back, because without you guys, we wouldn't have made this session possible. So many thanks for your help. And thank you, Dr. Chinese, Riddhi, and Agus, for your contributions and for sparing this time for this session, because I think this was useful. This was a first for the SUMERNET Secretariat to do a session on sharing information about grants that are available, because we had a request from several SUMERNET members that they would like to have some clarifications on aspects. So I hope we've been able to clarify. Sorry for the little technical glitches around not being able to respond on the chat box. That we will ensure we will improve as we go further on from here. So, and definitely all the, you can pass this information on, that SUMERNET members, you can first register to become members and then apply for these grants. And all of those links were shared with you on the chat box. You can use that. And this session is being recorded and will be posted on the YouTube channel of SUMERNET, so that others can listen to this later on and access the links that are there as part of the channel's recordings. So thank you all, and thank you. And please feel free, if you have any further questions, to reach out to the Secretariat, and we'll try to respond to them as well. So looking forward to more applications from all of you, and exciting, interesting applications at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
Have a good week. Bye-bye.